All good. Evening everyone, 5:30 p.m. So I declare tonight's forum meeting open at 5:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone. So the declaration of opening is made at 5:30. Just a reminder to members of the public, tonight is a question and answer night. We come back next week to make the decisions, and that's based off all the question and answers we've got at the moment. That'll come during the meeting. Members of the public, I've talked to every member of the public, or the galleries sometimes known as I refer to it. We've got two sections where members of the public can participate, and that's item number 6 is public questions, which I'll refer to the public. And then we've got item 8.3, deputations, which is statements if you'd like to make a statement. They're both on page 11, so I will refer to the public at that stage. And that's the only times. And we just ask that we try and keep questions as questions and then statements as statements, so we don't confuse the two. Item number 2 is opening procedures. So the Shire of Northern would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet, and that is both the Balladong and Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 2.2 is recording of council meetings. Members of the council, councillors and staff, and members of the gallery, that's public, are advised this meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded and is made available on the Shire of Northern's YouTube channel. If members of the public would like to have access to the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northern website. Item number 3 is attendance. We have all councillors as listed here. So we have my left to right, Councillor Bigland, Councillor Guirac, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Williams, Councillor Mancelli, President Antonio, that's me, Councillor Appleton, Councillor Polton and Councillor Hughes, all are here. And all the staff as listed are here, apart from one who will be added on. So welcome everyone. 3.2, apologies, is nil. And then we go to page 7, item 3.3. This will deal with, be dealt with next week. Councillor Guirac won't be here, so we'll deal with that next week. Item 3.4, absent, is nil. Item number 4 is disclosure of interest. So for members of the gallery, this is when a councillor will make a declaration of either financial, indirect financial proximity or impartiality. For financial, any of the financial or proximity, the councillor will not partake in any part of the debate or question and answers, and for impartiality, so everyone knows. Now I have a number of these to go through tonight, so bear with me. So 13.1.2, which is lease agreement for Reserve 25785 Bakers Hill Adult Riding Club. Councillor Williams has declared impartiality, as members of the Bakers Hill Adult Riding Club are known to Councillor Williams. And I'll just do a quick check. I think that's the only one for that item. That's 13.1.2. Then we have 13.1.3, Avon Community Development Foundation, Mortlock Gardens. Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Members of the ACDF, as the Avon Community Development Foundation is known, are known to Councillor Williams. 13.1.3, same item, Councillor Appleton has declared impartiality. Members of the Evoke Living are known to Councillor Appleton. Evoke Living are mentioned within the report. 13.1.3, President Antonio, that's me. Same item, has declared impartiality. President Antonio is an unpaid board member of the ACGF. That's all the 13.1.3s. 13.1.4, lease of Reserve 49380 to Spencer's Brook Progress Association Inc. Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Previous members of the Spencer's Brook Progress Association and members are known to Councillor Williams. 13.1.4, Councillor Polton has declared impartiality. That's the same item. Members of Spencer's Book Progress are known to Councillor Polton. Councillor Appleton has declared in the same item as impartiality. Members of the Spencer's Book Progress Association are known to Councillor Appleton. 13.1.4, same item. President Antonio, that's me, has declared impartiality. Members of the Spencer's Book Progress Association are known to President Antonio. 13.1.4, same item. Councillor Mencelli has declared impartiality. Several members of Spencer's Book Progress Association are known to Councillor Mencelli. Councillor Biglan, same item, has declared impartiality. Some members of the Spencer's Book Progress Association are known to Councillor Biglan.
Mr. President, sorry, can I just clarify? I actually put down that I am actually a past member of Spencer's Book Progress Association and members are known to me.
Sorry, I read that wrong, so clarification. So just so everyone's aware of that for the recording. And Councillor Gerac is also declaring 13.1.4. Apologise, Councillor Williams, I didn't read that right. So it's 13.1.4. Then we have 13.2.1 RFT. Just going to read that off here. 13.2.1 RFT 04/2024 cleaning of Shire of Northern public toilets and outlying areas. Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. Councillor Williams is an executive member of Bakers Hill Progress Association who leases the Bakers Hill Recreation Centre. Our Bakers Hill Recreation Centre is mentioned within that report. 13.2.1, President Antonio, that's me, has declared impartiality. President Antonio is a member of various progress associations. That's all for 13.2.1. Then we have 13.3.2, Wundowie North West Precinct Structure Plan. Councillor Biglan has declared proximity to this item. Councillor Biglan's property is adjacent to one of the lots, albeit with a small bush reserve between the properties. So Councillor Biglan will partake in those question and answers tonight. Then we have item 13.3.3, proposed 13.3.3, proposed amendment Valley School. Councillor Ryan has declared impartiality. The proponent is known to Councillor Ryan. 13.3.3, and then we have item 15.1, motion to change council decision C3222 pedestrian access way adjacent to 16 Brown Road and 51 Olive Road, Wundowie. Councillor Biglan has declared impartiality. Residents adjacent to the pedestrian access are known to Councillor Biglan. Same item, President Antonio has declared impartiality. Owners of adjacent properties are known to President Antonio. Councillor Mencelli, same item. An adjoining landowner is known to Councillor Mencelli, declared impartiality. Same item, Councillor Williams has declared impartiality. The owner of one of the adjacent properties is known to Councillor Williams through council. Let's see if I can remember those items as they come up. But Councillor are well aware as the item comes up, they can declare any interest on that. As the item comes up. I can see Councillor Gerac has declared one at 13.1.4, and I can see Councillor Hughes writing. Now let's get them back in. So the first. So there we are. So that's all the declarations. I'll just remind everyone as the item comes up that the councillor has declared an impartiality, proximity, financial interest in it. So we're on page 8. Item number 5 is announcements by the presiding member without discussion. So that is there. So we go to page 11. So item number 6, public questions. So this is when I remind the public that you can participate and ask a question. And as I just advised everyone, if you'd like to do so, can you come up to near where Councillor Biglan is and please state your name if you'd like to have a public question. No? Any questions? Just want to make sure there's no members of the public want to ask questions. That's fine. So then we go to item number 7, still on page 11, response to previous public questions taken on notice, that is nil. Item number 8 is receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. 8.1, petitions is nil. 8.2, presentations is nil. 8.3, deputations, we had an application for a deputation. So I'm just going to ask, if you would stand up near the microphone and state your name, please. Not microphone, your hands up there.
Good evening, my name is Marilyn Ruliancic. I'm Secretary of the Spencer Sport Progress Association, elected in 24th of October this year. Thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of this. So we've been asked to sign a lease agreement on the reserve 49380, which houses the fire shed, which also contains our fire tender, which we use for firefighting mitigation. The members of the fire shed and the Progress Association had some additional questions, and they like them answered prior to being able to sign the agreement to lease the building. We have been in discussion with one of the shower officers over this, and she's been very helpful, but we still need more answers before we can make a formal decision at our meeting. A new committee was elected on the 24th of October, and the outgoing President and Treasurer handed over records and some documents, but any relation to the fire shed were not found amongst them. It's unclear as to the ownership of the building, as the Progress Association have been of the opinion that the building was mostly funded by the Progress Association with some financial support from the Shire, but with no documentation to support it. The Progress Association claims to have paid a large sum of money in the vicinity of $20,000 to $30,000 to have power connected to the shed. It raises more questions as to who should have paid that if it's not their share of the Shire shed, etc., which is why we're trying to clarify these details. We recently received a grant from Clean Heat Gas, and that's provided some maintenance and repairs that were undertaken on the fire tender unit, which has already been involved in a fire mitigation. The Progress Association also received grant money to erect a patio and a water tank, and have recently been made aware that these structures to the building have not had building approval, and we agree that if we're required to submit the relative, we will do retrospective building approvals. There is a question whether we want to keep them there or not. We can't use the building for something else, which again is why we want ongoing further clarity. We're a very small voluntary organisation with very limited funds, and although the new committee have got plans to move forward to maximise the potential for growth and maintenance of our assets and community obligations through fundraising, applying for grants, establishing partnerships and sponsors, any unbudgeted or new expenditure at this time must be carefully considered. In regard to the quoted expenditure to have lease documentation drawn up as estimated at $800, Progress Association requests this cost be waived given consideration to the contribution made thus far in having the power connected to the building claimed to be owned by the Shire. Again, we're not saying you're claiming it, we don't believe you, we just would like the clarification. The Shire also states it has the ability under the management order to grant a lease of up to 21 years. As we already have in place a lease on the Station Master's House in Spencer's Brook, there's 19 years remaining on that, and it's due to expire on the 14th of November 2043. And we respectfully request that the lease for the fire shed be aligned to expire at the same date. And we look forward to having further conversations with the Shire officers. We have further questions regarding the crossover. 20 years ago, apparently, the Shire was going to, they approved a temporary crossover into a private adjacent landowner's property, and that's never been changed. So we really want more clarity before we want to sign the lease and know exactly what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just so councillors know, Marilyn is working with one of our officers on those queries as we speak. So for councillors, before next week, we should know more information. Thank you. Is there any other members of the public who'd like to make a statement? Or a deputation? Yep. That's the last time the public can participate, so just so everyone's well aware. And I've told everyone in the gallery, as the item comes up, you're quite able to leave as I bring your item up, so you don't need reference to me up. But I might say that again. So we're still on page 12 now. So item number 9 is applications for leave of absence. That is nil. Item number 10 is confirmation of minutes. 10.1 is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held 20th November 2024. Any questions or clarifications on those, councillors? No. 10.2, confirmation of minutes from the special council meeting held 27th November 2024. Clarifications or queries, councillors? No. Then item 10.3 is notes from the council forum meeting held 11th of December. That's tonight. So we'll deal with that next week. So everyone's well with that. So item number 11 on page 13 is items brought forward for the convenience of those in the public gallery. Now, council, we have members of the public who are interested in 3 items. So I'm going to go to page 65 first because I'm doing it in the order that I saw the people come in. So we're going to go to item 13.1.4, leasehold reserve 49380, Dispense Book Progress Association, on page 65. Just a reminder that Councillor Williams, Councillor Bigland, Councillor Appleton, Councillor Polton, Councillor Gierek, President Antonio and Councillor Mencelli declared impartiality in this item. So bear with me, I'm just going to go to page 65 myself and just see if there is any questions, councillors, about this item. Yes, Councillor Bigland.
So in light of what has just been brought to us by the Census Book
Progress.
Association, will we have the relevant answers before we have to make a decision next Wednesday? Or are we bringing this item prematurely to the Shire?
I'm going to start with that.
Thank you, Councillor Bigland, for the question. Marilyn has provided a detailed list of questions. It's anticipated we should be able to provide a response to those this week, so we can provide a copy of that to Council to inform the decision next week.
Hopefully that's, I've got Councillor Hughes first, Councillor. Hopefully that's answered your question. Councillor Bigland at this stage. Well, that's another question. Councillor Hughes.
Underline the lease up that expires on the same date as the Station Master's house. What's the reason why it can't be done?
So thank you for the question, Councillor Hughes. So the reason is that Council's policy has been set that it's a 5-year term with a 5-year option for extension. So the report has been prepared on the basis that it aligns with Council's policy. So if Council wishes to change that, they can, but we've aligned the report with the policy.
But doesn't it say that you go up to 21 years?
Yes.
That's the management order that we have with the state government. However, Council has previously made the decision in relation to its own policy that it will only do 5 + 5 years.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. The deputation presented, the association indicated that they don't have a lot of documentation in regards to the shed. Is the Shire able to assist the association in maybe getting some of those documentations so they've got it on file? I'm assuming that we would have some of the documentation. Maybe not all of it, I don't know, but whatever we've got, can we give it to them?
Yeah, I did have a chat to Marilyn last week in relation to identifying some of the documents. I did have a look on the file and there was certainly information relating to the power that was installed. We can see that there was in our electronic system an approval for the shed when it was constructed, but we've had difficulty in terms of actually finding the licence documents. So something we're continuing to look for and can cover off on some of the questions that are around that listed here. So again, we can provide Council with that copy.
I'm just going to follow up from Councillor Bigland's query. So if we don't have enough information by next week, if there's still some outstanding questions, Would the item be withdrawn, or would we have to defer it if we don't think we've got enough information? I think that's what Captain did was after.
From reading the questions here, I think council essentially would, in terms of deciding the lease for the property, would have enough information. I think some of the questions are really around the historical matters, around information in terms of documents that we can provide. I guess the group are using the land and have been for some time, so you know our intent is to formalise that arrangement as soon as possible. But yeah, I think we're hoping to address all the questions before next week.
Councillor Bigland?
I guess my question, that leads to my question of why did we, ask the Sensible Progress Association to pay for the power if that is the case in the first place, if we have known that it is our fire shed? Retrospective question.
So I haven't gone through in detail the documents that were on the file in relation to the power installation, but again, like we will look at that and provide a response before next week in terms of clarity around, you know, who installed it, who paid for it.
I think in a search of our records, though, we haven't been able to find a ground lease for the facility. So there are a couple of ways we can do leases. One is for the actual lease of the premises itself, and then one is a ground lease like we have with the airport hangars, where we lease the land, but then they build on it, but we don't own the building. However, we haven't been able to find a ground lease for the fire shed that would suggest that we have only leased the land previously, and what's been built on it has been built by the Progress Association. So we haven't been able to find that documentation, because that would give a clear indication of what the initial intent was. But I suspect it may have been in a time when we may not have been so diligent with our leases.
Councillor Bigland?
So in the deputation, they were asking for the $800 to be waived. It's not actually written into this. I've missed it. I may have missed it.
Sorry, in terms of the recommendation, Councillor Bigland, or?
No, they've already paid. Sorry, you were asking to pay the $800, waiver the $800?
Yes, so under council policy, the community organisation is required to pay for the costs associated with drafting up the lease agreement, which is essentially the solicitor's expenses. So it is referenced under the financial implications of the report, but the recommendation refers to policy. So the lease be approved in accordance with policy, and that is a requirement of the policy.
So if councillors didn't want that to be waived, they'd have to remove it if I've got that.
Correct.
Yes, so
that's
council
what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
If we wanted that to happen, considering the substantial amount of money that they have potentially paid already for a building that they technically didn't know that they should have been leasing, I gather for whatever reasons over the years, then we need to ask for it to be waived.
Yes, so council would need to move a motion to approve the lease with those variations to the policy.
Yeah.
And that would be the same for if it decides to issue a lease for a longer term than the 5 and 5 months.
Thank you.
And I'll just ask whichever councillor wants to do that by Friday, if possible. Councillor Kelly.
I do have a question in regard to the fire shed and the fire appliance that's stored there. Would it fall under the auspices of the DFS, like all the other brigades around the place?
No, it's not
It's an unofficial.
Northern asset. It's owned by the Progress Association themselves. So that was quite clear when they made that decision a number of years ago. So yeah, it's not eligible for ESL funding or LGG funding or anything like that.
Question?
Interesting.
Yeah, Councillor Hughes.
If there's no record on how the lease was drawn up, whether it be on the building or the land, couldn't you just choose either one, the best one that you want to put it under?
Normally we would only have a ground lease when it's only, it's a clear site, and then you would allow them to put a building on there afterwards. But because the assets are now on the Shire's land, they effectively are the Shire's assets. yeah, it's normally only when you've got, you're leasing a piece of land and then an organisation is putting something on it that is there, like clear, it remains their asset. But because the asset's already there, it is, for all intents and purposes, the Shire's asset.
Further questions on this, councillors? So yeah, I'll say it again. So now your item's been dealt with. We've got question and answers. Make a decision this week. You're quite able to go without reference. So now we're going to go to page 26. So this is 13.1.3, Avon Community Development Foundation, Mortlock Gardens. I said Mortlock Gardens, so I apologise because I thought it was Mortlock Gardens.
I have an interest in that too.
Okay, I'm just going to get through that. So Councillor Hughes has an interest, so 13.1.3. Councillor Williams has impartiality interest. Councillor Hughes is impartiality. Councillor Appleton has an impartiality interest. President Antonio has an impartiality interest in this item. So that's on page 26. So is there any questions, councillors, on this? I'll ask one because no one's asked any. I'm one and two people from ACDF have come here, so we're asking the question. Just want to confirm the risk, based on the report, the risk to the Shire is very, very minimal.
Yes, that's correct in terms of the reading of the risk matrix, and I guess that's based on the fact that the ACDF have delivered stage 1 of the project, so they obviously have successfully delivered that. And the other thing is too that we would look to have a project delivery agreement between ourselves and the ACDF if the funding was successful, to ensure that we had agreement on the key aspects of the funding agreement and what is required and how the project will be managed.
Yep, Councillor Bolton.
Are there any other projects that we would link in with this to make efficient use of the funding?
That'd be the CEO's answer.
Yes. So at this point in time, we didn't have another application that we were considering for this particular fund at this point in time. There may be another funding stream that we will consider for another project ourselves, but at this point in time, we didn't have any other projects that were developed to align with this funding program. Hence the reason why we are looking to support the ACDF with their project.
Yep, Councillor Mingelli.
Yeah, in terms of financial implication, I guess the only involvement that we have is in terms of staff input. Is that correct? That's from what I've read in the documentation. So there'd be no major costs involved for council?
No, so the intention would be, we're anticipating it would only be staffing resources, potentially to provide information that we may need to provide to assist with the application, and then staff resources in terms of developing the project delivery agreement with the ACDF if it was successful.
Further questions? Councillor Mingelli.
Just a supplementary, in terms of the $1.5 million estimate to develop the land, is that set in stone or is it fairly fluid? That's a leading question, I guess.
My understanding is that that is based on a report that has been prepared for the ACDF by Econosis. And also, I think based on some information that ACDF has available in terms of the 4 units that it is going to develop in the near future. So they would have some understanding of the site works costs and development costs as a result of doing those units.
Further question?
Yeah, one more question. I noticed the reports written by Econosis, and they're based in Queensland. So are they familiar with the costs in WA? Probably not. sorry, that's,
as much as any consultant is.
so it's probably flexible.
Councillor Bigland?
I've just got one in relation to the, it's understood that the portion of the site will require rezoning with an associated scheme amendment. Do we foresee any issues with the scheme amendment of the rezoning?
No, I don't think so. There is some issues related to floodplain, but that has been remodelled in recent years. So that was the reason that the zoning is different, because of the floodplain, but it's been filled and there's been studies done, updated studies. So no, not nothing that stands out at this stage. No.
Further questions, councillors? Okay, so we'll make a decision on that next week. Again, gentlemen, you can either stay or go. You can stay and enjoy our hospitality or go. So we're now going to go to page 20. So 13.1.2, lease agreement for Reserve 25785, Bakers Hill Adult Riding Club. Just a reminder that Councillor Williams declared impartiality in this item. Is there any questions on this, councillors? Yes, Councillor Poulton.
It's likely that the club will lease agreement.
So is it likely?
So is it likely that the hunting club will the lease agreement in the future?
Yep, we'll get our staff to answer that.
I mean, without talking on behalf of the organisation, I'd say it's probably unlikely. There is another pony club within the Shire, so but obviously we want to make sure that there is that provision in there in the event that they did restart.
Further questions? Yes, Councillor Mangelli.
In terms of the aerial photograph, I see there's no vehicular access into that particular area that's highlighted in red. Is there an official or unofficial access road?
Yep, so there is access via gravel road. You can sort of see on the map the track, which I think commences off Shingle Hill Road off the top of my head. And yeah, that basically provides access to the reserve.
Councillor Williams knows that because Councillor Williams has been here part of the road.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
That is optional road, Councillor Williams?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been past it each time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Further questions, councillors? Yeah, Councillor Poulton.
Any future plans for the infrastructure on that way?
That's something we'd take on notice and talk to the group about in terms of if they've got any plans to develop the site. They have certainly improved the area in terms of an arena and surface that. So yeah, I can ask the group if they're planning to do any further improvements.
Further questions, councillors? Okay, so ladies, I know you can stay or go, so it's up to you, but we'll make a decision on the next week.
Thank you.
So we are now going back to page 13. So item number 12 is reports of committee meetings. 12.1 is minutes from the Community Grants Assessment Committee meeting held on the 13th of November 2024. We've both got the receipt of minutes and adoption of recommendations. Is there any queries on either of these, councillors? Councillor Williams?
I actually had a question about not approving the Wundarra Primary School PDC playground. So it's the rationale is that it's not good in schools and it could set a precedent. Just remember that many years ago, I think what West Northern Primary School applied for funding for the nature playground. I just couldn't remember. I just want to confirm that they did not receive funding for that.
We can do that by next week. Is that all right? Yes. So, further questions on any of either the minutes or the recommendations, councillors? No? Okay, so then we go to page 15. So 12.2, minutes from the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting held on 29 November 2024. So we've both got the minutes and the recommendations. Any queries on this, councillors? No, so we'll leave that one alone. Then we go to page, so that's 15, so we go to page 16. So we've got item 13, officer reports. 13.1 is the CEO's office. 13.1.1 is a request for the creation of a reserve for unallocated Crown land, UCL, PIN 454770, known as A15571. Any questions on this, Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. President. So just in terms of the process, if the item is successful next week, what will be the stage process for approvals and how long is it likely to take?
So we would need to make application to the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage. In terms of the timeframe, I'm unsure. However, I imagine it would be several months. Generally, some of the dealings that we usually have can be up to 6 months in terms of, getting managements of reserves or, if we don't have power lease, the process will take 6 months. So I do imagine it would be similar to that.
Further questions on this, councillors? Councillor Hughes?
Is it for the whole river or just where the red line goes down and back up, and down by the weir, does it take up right across the river? The line goes right around?
So the red outline is the area that we're proposing to request management reserve and management issue to the site.
So Councillor Hughes?
But not the river part?
Yes. No, yes, it's included.
Include
The entire red area is, the weir, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to Councillor Girac first.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering why is the red line stops before River Terrace? Is there any reason? Like, is it part of the bike strategy, isn't it?
You're asking, should the red line be on Broome Terrace side as well?
Yeah. So why is it on?
Can you show us, Councillor Girac?
Yeah. So going up to here.
Should it be right around the whole river?
Why it's not going around the river?
Majority of the Broome Terrace is already road reserve, so that's why
It's already reserved.
it's part of the road. Yeah, it's normally part of the road reserve.
So I think what Councillor Girac's referring to then, so will that, anything from the river on, would that be part of, because we've already got up to the river, so will the river be included on Broome Terrace side? I think that's what Councillor Girac's heading towards.
No, the river's not included as part of this, so the river sits as, again, unallocated, unmanaged Crown land, so it's only referring to basically the river bank, so to speak, not the actual river body itself. Does that make sense?
I'm surprised we didn't have the riverbank. Should I say this question? Have we not had the riverbank under our water up to date?
No, obviously not. Historically, historically, obviously, we've maintained that area. We've had footpath construction on there, etc., etc. So, it's historically, it just hasn't been transferred into a management or reserve.
Okay, that's what it is. And the other side is our reserve, so that's already there. So, unrelated questions to this item, I'll probably ask the CEO, what happens with the river? Who's controlling the river then? It's probably not related to this item so much.
I mean, the river's an interesting one. It's a long story, but basically the way that it's been explained to us from the Department of Water over many years is that because it's an artificial water body, we're the responsible agency for maintaining it, etc. Whereas obviously if it's a natural free-flowing river, it's still due under the Department of Water or Department of Water and Environmental Regulation. So yeah, because it's treated as an artificial water body, they believe it's our responsibility. So historically, when we dredged it, etc., although we didn't get grant funding for it, it was the town of the Northern project at the time. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with their philosophy, but that's the position the state government had.
Sorry, Councillor Girac, I hijacked your question, but I knew that answer. Councillor Ryan?
Just where the spillway is, my understanding there's government infrastructure in terms of pipes and things with water that runs through there. So, how does the reserve and us obtaining that reserve and responsibility, how does that affect in terms of state government infrastructure that runs through the place?
So in terms of capturing that in the management order, we've have identified that in the recommendation, and we'll discuss with Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage how that should be best reflected in terms of the management for that spillway, which is addressed in point 2 of the recommendation.
It's possible that they may treat it as an easement to the Water Corporation.
Further questions, councillors? Yep, councillor Williams.
So in regards to the river, what is that actually classified as now? Is that unallocated Crown land, did you say, or is that under some other sort of category?
So I'm just looking it up now. It's just not designated under the state government as water, as a good body, so we can get that clarified exactly what the land tenure is for next week.
Further questions on this item, councillors? No, so we've done the next 3 items, so we're going to go to page 71. So 13.2 is engineering services. Just get 13.2.1, T04 of 2024, clean of Shire and Rural public toilets in the outlying area. We do have interest. Yes, 13.2.1. And councillor Williams has declared impartiality in this item. Okay, President Antonio has declared impartiality in this item, and councillor Aldrin.
So, actually got a proximity that includes Speakers Park, which is pretty close to our place.
Proximity would normally be the red field. If you, and just so anyone listening to it, if there is a proximity, we're not making a decision tonight, so the council's able to do it. Or next week when we make a decision. So any questions on this, councillors?
Yes, I have.
Councillor News first, that's all I have first, and I'll go to Councillor Angela.
Just regards to Bakersfield, well, it says pavilion here, it's actually a recreation centre, so I know that Scott's in documents, if that's the name, just be a recreation centre. So the question is, the public toilets out the back are supposed to be accessible to the public, but the back door always seems to be locked, so I'm just wondering if the public actually does officially have access to those toilets, which has been the request because there's no other toilets in the vicinity. If not, then there's no need for those toilets to actually be given to Clean, because Cleaner that does the rest of the rec centre could do those. But if there is actually officially public access, then is there actually officially public access?
Well, I need to take on notice of.
Okay, is that all right, Councillor?
Yeah, that's
good. Councillor Minchilli?
In terms of the consumables, the contract is not terribly specific on that, is it? You know, there's a supply of toilet paper and hand cleaner, which has come up as an issue in the past. But my understanding is that that's an additional cost. Is my understanding correct on that?
Yeah, so what it'll be, we've asked for a replacement in the, for quantity in the schedule of rates, so in the actual tender document. So what we'll do is it'll be, you apply it back into the purchase order, the open purchase order as required. So it's a use per facility replacement. So those rates have been captured in the tender itself.
So is that why there's supplementary question. Is that why there's a variation that the CEO can authorise?
The variation was an omission of a facility.
Yes, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Gerac.
Don't know if my math is correct, but adding up all those percentages, I only came up to 97%. So I wonder if the 3% is again just an allowance for variations or an error of allocation of funds.
I like that question because you're asking is the 10% variation within those figures?
Yeah, so the 10% would be then 7% because there's 3% already not allocated.
So that does the
Adding up
variation
the
request
percentages in that
fit
list.
properly?
Chad's answering his question so much better.
You can take it on notice. I didn't get it when I said it.
Well, you were lucky, I'm glad I wasn't adding up wrong.
Well, I think that one I noted as well, but I think the, it's probably safe to say that the 10% is inclusive of the, it done on the total proposed budget.
Yeah, true. That would be, if it was on the total proposed budget, it would be not on the. Yes.
Well, yeah.
So, think about an allocation of the.
So the allocation in that table
Yeah.
is only 97%,
Yes.
not 100. So obviously the tender went out for 100%, that's only 97.
We'll just clarify that one next week, Councillor Gerac.
We'll check the figures in terms of the
Make sure
budget
you announce
allocations.
before you leave.
Yeah, we'll check the figures in terms of the budget allocations to ensure that they're correct.
Councillor Poulton had a question?
There's a lot of great technology out there to make maintenance of systems like this more efficient. For example, there's
Question.
There's a big concept. So for example, there's monitoring things that you can put on dog food bags and toilet rolls and things like that. Has the Shire looked into updating these facilities to make them cheaper for the community ratepayers?
So the contractor themselves does have some technology. I think this particular contractor as well uses an application called SmartSheet as well, which Shire also uses. So there's sort of potential linkages between the Shire and the contractor there. The Shire, the contractor themselves does do have some pretty high tech. Obviously, it's based their money as well. If they don't need to respond, it's travel and other things. So they've made some pretty good efficiencies, and that was certainly for part of the decision making when we undertook this that they were pretty well equipped in that space. Yeah.
The answer will be that, but I think they'll continually look at the Councillor Poulton, but so which is the question. Further questions? I just had one about it. So with all the tenders, and I know that's confidential. I take it there's no local companies that can handle that size. So that's a hard question. Then I want to confirm: do they contract out for some of the small ancillary areas like Southern Brook, Wellington? They'll contract out to someone else. Do they do that?
So this particular company are huge, and they've got they already service a lot of the local area. They have some staff on the ground ready to go within the council, and they've got they service some other neighbouring shires as well. So they've got relatively local staff dotted all around the region. Yeah.
So no further questions, councillors? No, it's just moving hand. Question. So we're going to page 84. So 13.3 is development and community services. 13.3.1 is proposed road dedication lot 166 Newcastle Road Northern. Any questions on this, councillors? No? That's the first one we have questions on. The next one, Councillor Bickman is going to lead, 90. So 13.3.3, Wundowie Northwest Precinct Structure Plan. Oh, Sorry, which one are we on? Two. You got? No, you got two. 13.3.2, proximity, Councillor Bigland's properties adjacent to one of the lots. Yeah, or be in the small bush reserve plan.
Albeit with a small bush reserve, so is that actually a separate block, because then it's not proximity?
We have to confirm that, I don't know.
It's elected to.
Yeah. It's interesting that too, because I asked a similar question to Steve Tweedy when he was here. So, but I'm probably not related, but yeah, similar question. Yeah. But questions on this, councillors? Yes. Oh, Councillor Hughes first. Sorry, I saw him first, but I heard you.
In the recommendation, the date's wrong. Should be 2035, it's 25.
That's correct. Sorry, you picked it up. That was incorrect before this week.
Well, good question. Councillor Michele.
Yeah, just in regard to, there's a statement in there about stage 3 of the Moravillo estate. My understanding was that there was no egress along Golf Links Road out the far end. Is that going to prove problematic in the future, or is that going to be resolved at the next stage?
No, it's been put on as a condition of the stage 3, so we will know as part of that.
And is that access through the Shire of TJ?
No, it accesses through private property within the Shire of Northern, and then back out to Birdie Road, which is just within the Shire of Northern.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, councillors? No? So can we please grab Councillor Bidlam? So we now go to page 549. So 13.3.3, proposed amendment Rally School. Just a reminder that Councillor Ryan declared impartiality in this item. Questions on this, councillors? No questions on this? So 13.3.3, then we go to page 562. So 13.4 is corporate services. 13.4.1 is accounts and statement of accounts, November 2024. I haven't seen any questions come in, but if there is anything that be ordered, is there any questions? Councillor Bigland? So Councillor Bigland first.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yes, I've got a few, Colin. On page 626, can we please have a breakdown? So there's the spend on the Wandowie swimming pool is 88,550 of the. Hang on, let me go to page. Page 626. Yes. 88,550 of the 122,500. Oh, sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Yes.
Sorry. I've just realised that.
Oh, sorry, on the next item.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? Next item. Okay, so questions on 13.4.1. I'll just go to Councillor Michele while looking up Councillor Bigland.
Yeah, Mr. President, just in relation to the account statements, I've got a query in regard to the Killara respite facility. I was just wondering if we've got a sub-metering set up there for water and power, because essential personnel have taken over half of it, I believe. It appears that we're paying all the water accounts.
We do,
Are we recouping it?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I'll check with that because I understand that one of the conditions of the lease before they were able to take occupancy is that we would have a separate water meter installed. Yeah, so we would check that.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind that. Same for power, I guess. Through the chair to the executive manager of corporate services, page 573, Bernard Park Capital Works, DCM Carpentry, $33,401.50. Number 4. Did they do some work on the? Take it on notice. Yeah.
Council Manager.
Sorry. Okay. And just one other one, I think. Just in relation to the suspension bridge, I did notice there's been a variety of electricians go out and effect running repairs. Are the lights actually working there? The question was raised yesterday afternoon, but I'm not sure. But you know, we're doing patch-up jobs, and I'm just wondering if we can fix it permanently.
Yeah, okay. I will take that one on notice. You want it?
That's right, Councillor Midland. What? I'm going, no, we're going to Councillor Midland. Okay.
Page 568, the extra tourism is 7,760.50. Was that a successful, and did we have more people attend this year than we did in the last year? I'm assuming that's in stargazing, anything?
I'm happy to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Page 578, unique fixing technology for $1,643. And we know what that was for, please.
Take that on notice. I'll
Yeah,
answer
no,
I'll answer Mr. Young, yeah.
Page 579, Whitbelt Resources Mallory was for $3,025. Again, we probably have to take that on notice.
That was for fire mitigation works.
So, cleaning the bush or roadworks or?
Blasting and river stickering around the top of Mount Lynn.
Still on the same page, Whitbelt Office BM and Carpentry IT Capital, $2,078.
Take that on notice.
Okay, the same company, Depot, for $6,418.50, I think it is.
I believe that one's our plotter scanner, but I'll get back to you on that one as well.
Page 584, Packline Fencing, SES Henry Street. That is, I'm assuming, is the state emergency service, do we put a fence up?
Yeah, that's what we call the co-location centre. So that's was a fence, and that was funded through DFAS.
Thank you. Common Ground Trails, $30,168.12 on the same page. What was that for?
That was for the Trails Master Plan.
Page 591, Alexandra Coombe Sound Shelf for $6,000. What was that for?
I'll take that on notice.
Thank you. Page 593, JB Hi-Fi, capital purchase of $5,442.44. Probably too little.
Take that on notice, Councillor Midland.
Page 600, Irish Town Agricultural Hall, $3,280 was spent on insurance. Is this then on charge to them?
No, so this is a condition of the lease that council's approved for the fire shed, that we pay the insurance for the agricultural.
That's the fire shed.
So it's the insurance for the agricultural hall. So it's essentially like the lease fee, I guess, for the fire shed. So we pay their insurance and contribution for the land for the fire shed.
Thank you. And lucky last, page 608, Whitbelt Copiers, $10,310.30. Was this a purchase of a photocopier?
Yes, that was a purchase of the photocopier for the admin centre, and it was in the IT budget.
Would we not consider leasing it as opposed to purchasing?
The lease is
cost the same, but over a number of years. And it's just easier if you have the money to buy outright capital, but the lease is no discount over that capital purchase, still makes it cheaper.
I appreciate that that's going to cost the same. However, with a lease, you get the maintenance and the parts as part of your. Sorry, those would not be cheaper in the longer run because you're not purchasing or having to pay the materials.
No, but you still have an agreement for the cost of the copiers and their parts and maintenance. It's all included within the sheets. Every sheet you pay a certain amount for the sheet. That includes that.
Councillor Ryan?
I have 3 questions, Mr. President, so I have 3. So EFT 52604, it's on page 575. So this is in regards to the NavMan subs. The invoice was paid twice, and I'm just inquiring what systems failed to allow the invoice to be paid twice, and has a new system been implemented to reduce that risk? You probably have to take that on notice, but yeah.
I'll take that on notice.
Yeah. Your 3. EFT 52679 was in relation to legal fees. What were the legal fees for? And EFT 52736 FM surveys. What was the capital works undertaken at Burton Hawke Oval, please?
Probably going to get an answer to that one.
The survey would be for the new Burton lights.
Councillor Mitchell's got another question.
I've got one further question through the President, if I may, to the Executive Director of Corporate Services. On page 594, there's an amount of $20,492.82 paid to pool and pump services and repairs, Northern Aquatic Capital Works. Now, inter alia, there's a lot of other expenditure on our relatively new
question.
Yeah.
Question.
So, is the are there things breaking down in the pool ahead of schedule, or I'm just wondering why we're expending, and that's a question, why we're expending all this money on, we're constantly having people out there, plumbers, God knows who else. It amounts to an awful lot of expenditure.
Need to get a question in
there. It's not actually for the water playground. It was budgeted expenditure of 87,000 to replace the pump room and the floor of the sea container. So the works were associated with that. It was in the budget last year. We never got to it into the season. This year.
Stand corrected. Thank you for that. I do remember it now.
So 13.4.1 accounts and statements. Any further questions or clarifications? So then we go to page 617. So 13.4.2 monthly financial report for the period ending 30th November 2024. Any questions or clarifications on this?
Where I originally started, sorry, Mr. President. Page 626, the breakdown for the Swim infrastructure upgrades and Wondowie Pool. We've spent $88,550 to date. What has that been spent on?
So we did it with water park and banana park. Banana park was on Valley Pool.
Sorry?
It is associated with the water park on Banana Park, the same.
Okay, so it's not to do with the Wondowie Pool?
Not to do with the water.
We can do one question.
I do. Bernard Park charging station on the same thing, budgeted, is it $898 over budget at the moment? Are you expecting to receive any other invoices on the Bernard Park charging station?
No.
Thank you. BMX upgrades. we do not have any monetary payments against it. Have we not paid anything for the BMX upgrades?
Not for the accounts today.
If I can clarify, we received yesterday the first invoice in the contract.
So where did the 3 Phillies invoices come from? Is it not out of the BMX upgrades?
I think the detailed design was actually done in the previous financial year, if I recall.
Yes, that's correct.
The entry lights in industrial and CBD, we have not expended any money. Have we received the grant for this one, or is this a different one that we're not getting the grant?
No, we haven't received the grant yet.
And the Railways Museum work, when do we anticipate doing some work on them?
So we've got the contractor is appointed, we've just redefined some of the scope to fit within budget. That'll be then discussed with the Heritage Group, and as soon as they approve the scope, we can announce.
Yeah, Councillor Antilli does have a question.
I do. This is directed to the Executive Manager Corporate Services once again. In relation to, we've got 2 loans, Colin. Loan 224, where we're paying 6.48% interest. I take it it's through WA Treasury Corporation, and loan 225 for Victoria Oval, 6.48%. Those 2 loans at 449, add up to about $1 million, and we've got considerable investments in the CBA, around about $4 million. I'm just wondering if, and the interest they're giving us is only 4.9%. Is there an opportunity for us to expunge those debts, or is there something in the agreement or the terms of the loan, etc., that we can't pay them out early?
Yes.
You can absolutely pay them out early.
Sorry?
But you can absolutely pay them out early, but you don't see any money. They charge you.
There's a penalty for paying them out early.
Yeah.
It's a bit rude, isn't it?
That bank's work.
Yes, I know.
Sorry, Mr. President. 2 more questions.
Oh,
Sorry.
Finished, yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
This Jennifer Road 2-5823-19 has a expenditure currently against it of $244,577, yet the revised budget for 24-25 was $198,080. Has the money been allocated correctly, or should it have gone to either the other 2 Jennifer roads that have had less money spent against them?
That's correct, so they've just been put to the wrong code. But that was discussed today at the meeting, so that we resolved.
And page 630, disposal of assets. Can someone explain to me, please, we seem to make a loss every time that we sell a vehicle. I appreciate that I'm going to assume, am I correct in assuming, that I've got to your question. The depreciation is, if you look at the season, it's 10,000 for 24-25. The budget figure is 9. However, you sold it for 9. Do we sell these privately, or do we buy a tender, or how do we do it?
It depends which item of matter it is. Over 75,000 for the trade, it has to be done by tender under the local government act. If it's vehicles to the local car yard, we will often trade them in with the new vehicle. However, if the price is too low, we check out the auctions and then pull the auction. So this year, a couple light vehicles we have sold have gone to auction because what we were offered was better than what we were going to get from the car yards in town.
So further questions, councillors?
No.
I just wanted to have, so the exec manager, money. I'm doing well, corporate services, thank you, mental blank. Just wanted to confirm on page 622, just so councillors are aware what I do with this report. this is on page 622. I just looked for variances above 5%. So I'm just looking at the macro. Now, there's one that I picked up was transport. We're 1.641 million variance under budget, which is unusual, 61% lower than budget, if you see that on there, Colin. I just wanted to confirm that was a matter of timing, because that looks like it's grants received for transport projects.
That will be the capital grants, and predominantly they're associated with the Jennifer and jobs.
Okay. And just it's a general question, probably on page 633, I'm looking at the reserves. And Colin, you probably know this off the top of your head. When are we starting to build reserves back up? It's probably the opposite of Councillor Mancelli's question. When are we starting to look to build reserves back up? Because they're taking a hit.
And we had built up reserves during the 22-23 financial year. As per the long-term financial plan, they reduced during the current financial year. Come the next financial year, they're going to steady, and they'll slowly start building after that.
Thank you. Further questions, councillors? Now we're going to go to page 638. We are going behind closed door for that, but I just wanted to see, is there any questions on the item that's behind closed doors? Because if there's not, especially this week, I can just move on. So is there any questions going to be on item 14.1? No? So that's all right, let's move on. No questions. So then we're on page 638, and then we go to item 15.1. Motion should change council decision C.3222, pedestrian access way adjacent to 16 Brown Road and 51 Oliver Road, 1 Dowie. Just a reminder that Councillor Williams, Councillor Biglan, President Antonio, and Councillor Mancelli have declared partiality in this item. So, questions on this, councillors? Saw Councillor Pollen first, so he had his hand up ready.
So regarding pedestrian access, usually they have a little chicane you walk through. You can't get motorbikes and things through.
Question?
Has the Shire considered implementing those instead of a gate?
The previous resolution of council was to install a gate, but there is, with the current situation, there's the ability to walk around that gate at Elmer end, so it's not completely covered, so to speak. But that was part of the discussion resolution a number of years ago by council.
A follow-up question to this.
It's also mentioned the use of these access ways as fire breaks and emergency. Is that an initiative implementing these sorts of things?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question, but it's designated as a public access way because at that time, as per the previous report to council, it was assumed that was the way of implementing the emergency access way. That's what they used at that time. Now it would be designated something different, but yeah, back in the day of the subdivision, which I think was around probably the late 80s, early 90s, that's the mechanism they used to put the emergency access way through.
Just to follow up with that, Jay, just not anymore. So it's not an emergency access way anymore. Just want to clarify.
No, it's still classified as an emergency access way.
Those campaigns be impacted by requirements for emergency access?
Yes, it would have to take into consideration vehicle access.
Councillor Williams?
So when this first came to council,
2017.
2010.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, previously. There was a lot of issues with access, which is part of the reason that it was suggested that gates be put up. But I'm reading that there's been no reports of unauthorised access or no complaints made to the Shire, I'm guessing, recently about unauthorised access?
None of that are on record, no, none recently.
So am I able to ask councillor Richelli questions? Through the chair. As the leader of the motion, thank you. So I was just wondering how many people had actually made complaints to you and what the local police have said to be involved in the.
Yeah, I can tell you quite categorically that police don't respond. But there has been a number of complaints directed to me. I haven't put them through formally, but I moved a motion that we change the recommendation to the installation of lock gates for good reason. But
Can I ask how many people have complained?
there's been a number of people complain.
That are all in the city?
Live in the area, that's right. But there's one particular group that don't complain.
And with the.
Councillor Bigland?
I think that's my train of thought. Is it correct that the 4 access ways are predominantly for the residential urban environment as opposed to country rural environment as per your planning guidelines of over 2009?
I'm not sure of the question. I think is that it's something I mentioned before. In today's standard, it wouldn't be classified as a pedestrian access way. If it was required from a bushfire protection point of view, it would probably be classified as an emergency access way. But I think back in the time they did that subdivision, that wasn't a mechanism that was available. But yeah, generally pedestrian access ways are more aligned to sort of higher density residential development. Correct.
Subsequent question. Have you or has your team completed the designing out prime pedestrian access way assessment in line with the planning guidelines?
No. In a nutshell, no. Not this particular one.
Is it correct you're saying it is being used as a fire exit, fire easement, or for controlling fires? Is it correct that currently you would get absolutely no vehicle down that access way?
It's currently designated as an emergency access way, so it's not for fire prevention, it's for vehicle egress and ingress. It is, in the Commissioner report, we are applying for that funding to upgrade it to a reasonable standard. I did walk it the other day, you could get a car down there, but yeah, there's no room for passing or things like that. So yeah, it's very tight at the moment with the vegetation being overgrown, etc.
So are you referring to a vehicle or a motorbike? Because I was there yesterday and I doubt that you could get a vehicle down there without that.
So is it a vehicle or motorbike?
Vehicle.
Vehicle.
Sorry. Point of order? Right.
Well, just to take as a question, is it what vehicle would fit down there? I'll just rephrase the question. What vehicle would fit down there?
Oh, look, it would be only a smaller passenger style vehicle at the moment with the vegetation that's through there.
Thank you. Further questions, councillors? Councillor Ryan?
That being the case, could a light attack fire support vehicle like the cruiser get down?
I would suggest just, but yeah, it's not ideal in the current situation.
Further questions, councillors?
Sorry, I
Councillor Bingham?
Back in 2017, when the motion was council approved, it had 2 gates. Why was the second gate not installed?
Yeah, I'm not sure why that wasn't implemented as part of the resolution. Certainly it was on the one end, but not on the other end for some reason. Can't answer that one.
Further questions, councillors? No? So that's 15.1. So that'll be debated next week. We go to page 645. So item 16 is urgent business approved by decision that is nil. Item number 17, declaration of closure, is made at 6:49 p.m. Thank you, councillors, for your input and questions tonight. Thank you, officers, staff.